Hi guys, so I know we're getting ready to start in Unit 6. I jumped right back in here at this PACE date. I like to look at this as a guideline. It tells you that, by Friday you should be down through Lesson 1 and maybe even completing this research task project. It's pretty easy. It's pretty quick. And then next week you'll be working through Lesson 2 and Lesson 3, and we'll be getting deeper and deeper into this project. So I wanted to talk about the project. I want to review a little bit with you and just kind of walk you through it step by step. So if you'll just be patient, this might be a little long, but it's going to cover everything that we're doing in Unit 6, I hope. All right, so the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to go to Unit 6 syllabus, and this is what yours should maybe look like in your writing or overview page. You have the objectives, and this expresses to you everything that you need to learn, things you're going to be doing and showing us that you know. So those are the unit objectives. Always good to know what the goal is, what you're supposed to be learning. I don't know why this keeps moving to the side, but it does. For this unit, students will need to follow materials. You'll need the following materials. The MLA handbook, there's a spot where you can click that and open it on your overview page. It's basically a PDF that tells you how to do a citation. When you do a research paper, you use information from different sources, and then you have to tell what that source is. And you use the MLA format, and the handbook tells you how to lay it out so that it's the right way. There's an easy way to do that. I'm going to give you a couple cheats or shortcuts on that. It also asks you to have some index cards, but I'm sure that you can do stuff on the computer if you don't have index cards. It's not going to be a problem. It says you'll be required to write a research essay and present it to the class. You won't be presenting it to the class. I don't think that's what will happen, although you will be doing a presentation for Quiz 3 grade. I haven't checked into that yet. I'll give you more information about how to present. But there will be a written essay that's 50% of your test grade. So that's a lot of points. You're going to have to do some of this research project. All right, so the next thing is the MLA handbook. You can click on that. It's, again, a PDF, and it pretty much says, if it's a book, how do you cite it? If it's an interview, how do you cite it? If it's and it gives you information about how to cite. It's kind of long. It's a lot. But it's there as a reference. I may have some other sources that you prefer. So we're going to keep going. I'll talk about that. Okay, so an introduction to the research writing. You are doing a research paper, and it says how much you research already. You look into things before you buy your PlayStation 5 or your video game. You look to see if it's any good. You read reviews. You check to see what the latest is, and then you buy it or you don't buy it. And so you're always doing some kind of a research, looking into people or places or things. And so they just talk about what is research and what do you do and how do you do it. So you're going to want to read this. It talks you through the process, the research process, and then it talks about plagiarism. Plagiarism is a form of stealing. It's when you steal someone else's information or ideas, when you steal their work. Examples of plagiarism include using the exact words from a source without putting quotation marks around them, so they think that you said it. Failing to give credit to a source of a quotation, copying information from a source but replacing a few words here and there. A lot of people like to go on SparkNotes or something and they pull it and they go, I'm just going to change this word here and this word there. I'll take out this sentence. And they try to think that that's their own, but that's not really making it your own. That's still copying information. You can't do that. Rephrasing someone else's ideas in your own words and giving credit without giving credit to the source, and then submitting a paper that you didn't write, that someone else wrote or did for you. So those are examples of plagiarism. If you were in college, you would probably be kicked out or on probation. Here, I usually just give you a 0 and call your house. I don't really want to do that, but I guess the idea is don't cheat. Let's make sure that we cite our sources. So it says here in Unit 7, we're going to be reading Animal Farm. This is Unit 6, but in Unit 7, we're going to be reading Animal Farm. So we're going to be doing a little bit of research. Animal Farm is book, and it includes talking animals, but it's not a kid's story. It's actually an allegory. It's actually a representation of real historical events, which is the Russian Revolution. So we are going to learn a little bit or research a little bit about the Russian Revolution to prepare for Animal Farm. It is supposed to be a 3 to 5 page typed double-spaced paper using 12-point Times New Roman, MLA style for documenting, outside sources to gather for research, and documentation of your sources. So there's information here about what the requirements are, the MLA style, and there's a little bit of background information about the Russian Revolution. And what you want to do is you want to look through all this information, and as you're looking through it, you want to find things that are related. What could I use as a possible topic? Because the next activity asks you to come up with 10 possible topics. Maybe it's the Bolsheviks, maybe it's Lenin or Trotsky or Stalin. Maybe it's the Red Army. So go through and pick out some things from this reading that might be possible topics. All right, so you're going to do that. You're going to answer some questions here. Most of the answers to the questions are in what I just went over with you. You just have to read it and answer. You're going to submit it. And then once you do that, if you go to the next activity, once you go to the next activity, it will ask you to list 10 topics. So again, just choose from that reading. It's real simple. You submit it. It's like a pass-fail thing. You just list topics. Then Unit 2 is selecting a topic and making a plan. So here's where we actually choose a topic, and they give us specific topics to choose from. So it says, look at the following list of topics. Once you have chosen a topic, the goal of your research is to discover the significance of the topic to the Russian Revolution and the events that followed it. Perhaps you already have a topic in mind. However, if you're having difficulty choosing a topic, you can select a few, and after doing some preliminary research, you can decide which one. So sometimes people go, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, and then they go to look into it and they can't find enough information about it, or they're like, I really don't want to write about this. I'd rather write about this person or this event. So it's okay to choose a couple of these and do some preliminary research before you narrow it down. So, they're saying use an encyclopedia, and there are online encyclopedia sites you can go to, but basically they're saying, make sure you've got the right topic for you. Make sure it's not too broad, like too much, or too narrow. And I'm guessing that since they picked them out to give to you, that it should be fine. Here's a little video about research topics. It talks about narrowing your topic down. What were major causes of Nicholas II's abdication? Why was he removed? What were the effects? What events, surrounded his abdication? Each of these questions could be used as a major research question. So to narrow your focus, develop one major research question, one idea. Questions that begin with what, why, and how are often the best for research papers. So, one of these would work. Why was Nicholas II's abdication important to the rise of communism? What would have happened if he hadn't been taken out of office? Obviously, he needed to come out for it to become, what it did. Brainstorming and making a research plan. So you want to start thinking about possible questions for your topic. You want to do some preliminary, what the heck is this about? What could I write about? They give you kind of a graphic here to kind of brainstorm ideas, and not just the main idea, but like possible areas that you'll want to discuss. And then it says to create an outline. So if you're talking about propaganda in the war, and how it affected the war. They've broken it down into parts. What am I going to talk about? Well, I'm going to talk about what propaganda is, the role it played in Germany, the different types that were used. So you start to develop ideas about your topic, kind of different branches. What am I going to talk about if I do the Bolsheviks? What do I need to know about them? Who were they? Where, what role did they play in the revolution? So like you start thinking about this paragraph's going to be about who they are. This paragraph's going to be about what role they played. This paragraph's going to be about. So you start to kind of develop these points you're going to make in your paper. But you also want to make sure that you have a purpose. You're not just spitting back information. What do you think about the role they played? Or, why were they important to the revolution? So you want to try to tie in some kind of something that you think about it as well, and then use those researched pieces to support what you think. Okay, so this is lesson two. Lesson two, you're choosing the topic. You're doing a little preliminary research, but basically you're firming up a topic. And this says the research project task planning. So they may ask you to work on an outline or to work on a graphic or both, like you just saw. Here it is. Complete the following tasks to continue planning your research essay. Create a cluster diagram to brainstorm ideas. You can do that on a separate piece of paper and take a picture of it. You can do it on a document if you like to do the little art things and add the circles or the squares or however you want to lay it out. You can do that. Okay, so that's Unit 6 activity, and then we're on to Lesson 3. Lesson 3 says evaluating and documenting sources. So now we're going to get into the heart of you've chosen your topic. Now you have to decide what you're going to do with that topic and what kinds of sources you're going to use. It talks about two main categories of sources, primary and secondary. A primary source is the original source. They were there. It's firsthand information. Probably not a lot of those sources exist if we're talking about the Russian Revolution. But then we have a secondary source, which isn't firsthand knowledge or information, right? A secondary source analyzes, explains, or interprets what happened. So I guess we would have some primary sources in historical documents or diaries and letters of people that lived through it. You're not going to have an interview with anybody from the Russian Revolution. But secondary sources are kind of like reporting it for the history books, right? Nobody was really there. They've just done research on it or sharing what they've learned. And then evaluating sources. So, you want to make sure that what you're choosing, especially on the internet, that it's a reliable source. You probably don't want to get all of your information from Wikipedia. Wikipedia is maybe a nice place to start when you're looking at what these different pieces are. You've chosen the Bolsheviks to do, but you have no idea what that is. So you go to Wikipedia and you read about it a little bit. That's the kind of thing that Wikipedia should be used for. That's a good springboard to get some ideas going. But then you really want to look at topics, what topic do I really want? So I did the French Revolution. And I didn't want to do the same because I don't want to mess you up. But let's say I was doing a research paper over the French Revolution. I'm being asked to research it. When I look through these sites, this is a .com, but this is a history.state.gov. So that sounds like it might be a more reliable source than something that's trying to sell me something, as a business site. Go through and kind of explore some of the, this is National Archives.gov UK, or I don't know, Ducksters.com doesn't sound like the best place to start. But Britannica.com, this is an encyclopedia website. So that might be a place to look. So consider your sources as you're going through and picking things out. What source is going to be the best for you?